native Washingtonian, come up in the DC area, man, Northwest DC, born, back in the day, all I'm gonna say. But come up in Northwest DC, went through DC school systems. Went through, after DC school system, I left and went down to Norfolk State University. So Keith Childs, family man, three beautiful daughters, a wife, and 2 grandkids now. So that's my journey. That's who I am. That's who Arthur Keith Childs is. Funny story. This whole journey to where I'm at now as an author is really a funny story that I want to tell. I think I got this bug. It started way back in the day. Let me take you back. Back in the day, I had a best friend of mine who we became best friends in 10th grade. We shared lockers, and his name was Rodney Martin. They called him Fat Rodney. Me and Fat Rodney became really cool friends, best friends, shared lockers in 10th grade. And as we grew in our friendship, I played basketball in high school, and Fat Rodney just became real street heavy, meaning he was out there, but loved by everyone. But during his journey in high school and running the streets and playing ball, Fat Rodney started getting with the go-go bands, local go-go bands. Now, back then, rapping to us was we were slow here in DC. It was already up and booming in New York. It was already real out there and real fly and prevalent. But for us here in DC, we looked at it like it was use our word, it was some Bama stuff back then, right? We wasn't really hip to it. So Fat Rodney, it was a young cat before him. I gotta give credit. It was another guy out in DC streets. I think his name was DC Scorpio, if I'm saying that right. I think DC Scorpio was one of the first guys that I've heard about trying to do the rap thing in DC. But then Fats came out. What made it so acceptable with Fats, because Fats had so much street credibility. I mean, he was real, everybody knew him, he was heavy in the streets, and he was cool and loved by everybody. So when Fats started rapping, he started off joning, we call joning, snapping on each other, making jokes. He came out doing his thing, and then it just evolved. People, everywhere you go, he was making jokes with rap. And then by him being in the streets and us hanging together back and forth to New York City, we just see the cats in New York do their thing. Fats started getting really serious about his game. So the whole time, I'm right there with him every step of the way, watching it. As when I went off to college, he came down there when I was in school, stayed with us, and myself, Fats, and then my cuz, Pickett. We would go around, and Fats would do shows with this group called Ray Essence, right? And they had this slogan, "What you gonna do, Fat Rodney?" And that, Fats was just the man, right? So sitting on the sideline and watching him do his thing, and seeing a crowd go off. I think that's when the bug really got in me. I didn't even really realize it then, but then tragedy struck, that whole fun life, came to a brutally end when he lost his life, one Saturday night at Crystal Skating Ring. So after that, going through that, it was devastating, after my man lost his life and all that. But one thing did stay with me out of many was I know I got that bug for entertainment. I went back to college, and me and 3 of my friends, we formed a singing group back then. It was it became the name For You. It started off as called Lake, but anyway, we started a group, and we just started to do our thing. We toured and forth. So then 15, 20 years later, we toured, had fun, met many of people. The camaraderie was great. Toward the end of our careers, we was managed by a gentleman named Gene Griffin. And Gene Griffin used to manage this group called Guy. So he managed us, but we didn't know. We didn't know back then. We had no idea that Gene Griffin was, like you would say today or back in the day, Suge Knight. That's how he was looked at. So in the industry, people in the industry really kind of feared him, so to speak. People in the industry really kind of just feared or had that blackball stigma with Gene. So we was a young group, impressionable, and myself, I always loved and gravitated to the business side of it. And Gene was like my mentor. So he used to say stuff, and I was hanging on every word and learning the business. And he said a slogan to me before. He said, "Keith, if you go 19 years and you don't have a hit, and in your 20th year, if you get a hit, it's all worth it." You say, look at that with the same analogy as somebody in a job for 20 years and doing something they don't really like. So it always kind of stood with me. But nevertheless, with Gene Griffin was on the scene, we didn't know that there were certain things that went on before us that, like, we met with Sony Records, we met with about 2 or 3 different labels, and kind of find out that they had some interest in us, but they just didn't really care for Gene. So that kind of but that was the first bug, that was the first interest of me getting into this whole entertainment piece. So from that part on, then I went on, and then as time evolved, after the whole music thing kind of dissipated, I met a gentleman online named Mitch Credle. And I saw him with a camera in his hand, didn't know him, man, and introduced myself to him, kind of found out we're real good friends today. And that's how it kind of re-involved back itself again, because during those music years, those touring around, meeting a lot of people, I'm told we met tons of people, but during that time, I used to write music. We wrote all of our music and produced all of our songs, so the writing piece was in me. Evidently, I didn't know, I've never had any idea about being an author, but the writer piece was in me. So when I met Mitch and found this brother, man, was writing books, and a couple of books already out, and was already starting his production with doing movies. Him and I came together and we formulated, I got a company called Empower Group. Mitch, and him and I kind of came with the idea to come up with a movie. And with that, the bug was born. That's when it was really, that's how the whole piece, the whole journey came in, of us of me getting here to talk about this book. The inspiration for me writing my book was a couple things. One, it started, as I was saying, with Mitch, Anthony Commodore, Chris Downs, Kenya, Vernon, Steve Bullock, myself. All of us had a group together. We had formulated a group to do a TV series called Twisted Justice. Come to find out, it was way too astronomically for us to do. So what happened, I was writing, in my mind, I said, I'm gonna write me another little movie. And then I started to read it, look at it a little bit, and say, you know what? I may make this a book. I reached out to my man Mitch. True story. I reached out to Mitch, and I said, Mitch, I'm thinking about writing a book. And he told me the best advice I can take that led me to this point. Mitch said to me, look, I said, look, I have no idea about writing. I never wrote a book before. He said, look, just keep writing. No matter what, just keep writing. Don't care what nobody say, block the noise out, and just keep writing. So that's what I did. I just kept writing. 2.5 years. Then my mom took ill. She passed away. So about 6-7 months of that, being there with her day by day till she passed away. And then I at that point I said, you know what? I'm gonna finish this book. I don't care if nobody even read it, but just for my mom, I want to dedicate this book, and I finished the project. And so that was my inspiration. It was really just my mom and just saying, you know what, I wanted to do this. And also too, another inspiration was because I was a young kid who used to stutter really, really bad as a young kid. My grandmother took me to hearing and speech class for years, so I wanted to be that inspiration for another young kid out there that stuttered, because I ran away from English, I ran away from public speaking, any of those kind of things, because I was just embarrassed when it was time to read. Even though I couldn't read to myself, when it was time to speak it out, I used to stutter real bad, thus it embarrassed me. So all those kind of elements was like an inspiration to say, yeah, Keith, just do it and show myself that I can finish that. So that was really my strong motivation, my underlying motivation. Well, the reason I like to promote other entrepreneurs is actually just how God made me. And I always say it's a real selfless act I hear, because that's just something in me. I always like to help people. That's just how I am. When I built this platform on my show, I have a show that's called In the Lab with Arthur Keith Childs and Friends. And when I built the platform, it was basically based upon bringing just awareness to my book. But then I thought, it just something hit me. Hey, I have tons of friends, like I spoke about Mitch and Anthony and all these guys. I have tons of friends who's actually doing the same, we're on the same grind, the same climb. So what I said was, I don't care how big or small my platform is, let me bring my fam with me. Because as I got a slogan, say, as I grow, we grow. And I truly mean that from my heart. So it became a movement that said, hey, anybody that's doing anything in my 3 loves, which are music, I mean, entertainment, fashion, and business, the three loves, which my company Empower Group is about. I said, you know what? That's what my show is about. I want to try to find these people out here. I'm gonna dig high and low, and if you're out here, if you're really serious about your craft, come on my show. Let's talk. Let's show the world that we in DC do more than just, because a lot of people think you just from DC, all you got going for you is go-go. And guys, it's way so many levels here and talent here. So that's what made me wanted to kind of get out there and say, hey, let's give a voice to the voiceless of a lot of us. There's a lot of good people, guys, that's out here rocking in the DC area, in the DMV area, that's doing big things. What motivates me is simply my why, and my why is my kids, my family. So what I mean by that is I've always been one of the ones that feel like I don't chase money. I have a passion. If you get a passion and you chase your passion, money and all that stuff will come. So my why is my three daughters, and I tell my daughters every single solitary day to be the bridge. And what I mean by being the bridge is I look at it as a real quick analogy that I always said, on this side of the pond is all the disparity and hard life that you can muster, and on the other side of the pond is all the wealth in the world that you want. What are you gonna do to get from this side of the pond to the next? You gotta build that bridge. So if you're not an individual that come up with a silver spoon in their mouth and a lot of money, and somebody already built that bridge for you, you gotta be that bridge. So that's what I have to be for my family. So every day I try to do stuff to be that bridge so we can build out to a better life. And that's why I tell my kids and everyone else, if you're not that bridge or nobody gave you one, you be that bridge, and then you encourage your next generation to be a better bridge. So that's my motivation. Well, my passion is for a couple things. I think my passion is helping people. To be, I know it sounds cliche, but it's absolutely what I mean. What I mean by that, let me go. I was raised by my grandmother. Rest in soul. My grandmother was my rock. I didn't have a father figure in my life. I was one of those kids that come up, grandmother, come up in our neighborhood. She raised me. She was the candy lady around the neighborhood. I want to tell the story. So I come up in the time where you hear me say this word village, I was truly a product of the village. So when my grandmother raised me, did the best she can do, to provide. Still, I didn't have that male figure in my life until the guys from the neighborhood went to my grandmother and said, Miss Roberta, can we take Keith out? Because behind you, back then that time, my sister Carolyn, my sister Carolyn, I followed her everywhere, was around her. So the guys were like, look, let me get him out and get him tough. So really true story. So I went out, played with them, made me fight back and play sports. So I loved them for that. So the question, why I'm inspired like this, because one thing I look at is my grandmother, she instilled some really good values in me. And then my mom, it was just my grandmother and mom. My mom and grandmother was like Batman and Robin. So both of them is now since passed on. And what they instilled in me, Rich, was to always help other people, always look out for other people. There's good in everybody. You know what I'm saying? So I created a nonprofit that's called the Delberta Foundation, because my mother's name is Dolores and my grandmother's name is Roberta, and the foundation is to feed the homeless and give back. So it's always a burning desire in me. No matter what I do in life, I'm always find a way to help and give back to other people. That's my biggest passion. Easy Pray is a wonderful trilogy that's in this mind of mine, and I'm so excited about the project because, one, as I said, being a young cat, stuttering, not running away from English because I was embarrassed to read and circle time and all that. So the reason I'm so excited about this project on so many levels, one, because this character, Mallory Bell, who I've created, is just awesome, And once this book come out in the spring, spring 2018, once this book come out, you'll really get to follow her in her journey. But the book itself, I think when you read it, so many people will be able to relate to it on a level of where she come from, what she going through. They're gonna be able to relate to a story on the ins and outs, ups and downs. So please, ride with me on this trilogy. I'm already working on book 2 now. Book 1 is in editing, and I just spoke to my editor I just spoke to the editor the other day, and she contacted me and was like, your book is absolutely awesome. It's on fire. So that excites me as well. And guys, and understand, this is my first book. So, that's another big piece that got me really excited because, I've never done this before. So this is all new. But with people like, inspire me, like Mitch Credle, I think he's on his third or fourth book that he's written, and other people I've been around and talked to that wrote books. It's just those type of things that I learn from and just listen to. So hopefully, man, you all grow with me with this project. But that's got me really inspired to just keep writing. And I found one thing out of it all, I found writing being very therapeutic for me. So I love that. So I'm cool with that. Whew. Two-part. My first show, because I had a first show that was very nerve-wracking because just like sitting here, being on the other side of the cameras with lights and all that, it was just a nerve-wracking experience. But as the show went on, I kind of calmed myself down, and I'm sure like every show will get better and better. But I enjoy it because, again, God has blessed me with a vehicle to not only have a platform for my book and things I do, but a platform for my friends and others who want to come in and do what they do. So I absolutely elated. I think it's a big undertaking. I'm ready for it. I'm here, and I'm excited to wherever the next goal take me. I'm chasing. I'm going after it. My future goals is to finish this book, finish this trilogy, book 1, book 2, book 3. Hopefully in that is well taken, is well received by you all. Y'all love it. It turns to a movie. That's another big goal of mine, another that I wrote down my big goals to do. And then as that go, help other inspiring authors and writers that want to come, writers and authors and producers that want to come up and just have that platform, build my platform to the biggest platform possible, as well as this book. So the sky's the limits. The sky's the limits for me. I will give others inspiring writers the same advice that I've received from Mitch Credle. Keep writing. So many people I've talked to have come to me now understanding that I'm writing a book and saying, hey, what are you doing? Asking that question. And I just retort the same thing I was taught. Just keep writing. Don't let anyone block the noise out. And let me explain that, because I don't want to sound arrogant, like, hey, there's people who wrote before you not listening to. What I mean by blocking the noise out, because I had someone come to me and say, hey, I'm writing a book, and my boyfriend is a writer, and that's my first book. But when I was writing all my ideas down and I let him read it, he was telling me, oh, no, you're writing in the second, you're writing in the third person, right? And she said it was so much information that it shut her down. So that was my point. Like, everybody gonna have different writing styles, I've learned. I don't know my style. I just write how I write. Like, what I know my style is unorthodox. I don't write characters down. I don't write outlines down, because I didn't know how to do that until I went to a writing class. But with the way I write is, I just write, and the story unfolds as I'm writing, the characters and everything. And everyone I've spoken to who's a more experienced writer than I say, that's a talent. So I just say, grab onto your talent. Now, you're going to have to get editing and get the rough edges cleaned up, but just the rawness of it, just write. Just constantly keep writing. Final words of wisdom. I have a couple of them that I live by, slogans I go by. One thing I always tell my kids is, don't wish it was easier, wish you were better. Zig Ziglar. That is one of my most powerful words of wisdom. He said, don't wish it was easier, wish you were better, because there's always going to be problems out there, guys. Everybody looking for the easy way out. The people that win are the people that keep going through. And the last one I want to just say, I want to add to this, is don't be afraid to fail. Failure are steps to success. And one thing about us with failing, we're scared to do stuff because we're afraid to fail. So don't ever be afraid to fail. As a matter of fact, flip it around and look for failing, because every person that's made it have failed numerous of times. So the only people that don't make it are the people that's afraid to fail. So go at it, throw it on the wall, and don't be afraid to fail. And just know every time you fail, that's just you're one more step closer to your goal.